King Review Print Speaking to the Blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @ CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QandReview.com. That is INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 14th of August 2026, from the news section. Exclusive. Glasgow pensioner grabbed former friend by the throat. An exclusive written by Eva White. A pensioner grabbed her former friend by the throat whilst waiting in line at a shop in Glasgow. The incident took place at a convenience store on Cathcart Road on October the 12th, 2025. Eileen Mulligan, 70, of Mount Florida, was sentenced at Glasgow Sheriff Court recently after pleading guilty to assaulting Rosemary McBride. The court heard that at 4 p.m. that day, Ms McBride was within the shop when she saw Mulligan. Ms McBride went over to Mulligan and told her she didn't want to speak to her again. The women were then standing in the queue at the till, and, at this time, Mulligan grabbed Ms McBride by the throat with her hand. Mulligan appeared to hold onto Ms McBride's throat for what was described as a couple of seconds, with Ms McBride briefly experiencing difficulty breathing. Mulligan then removed her hand from Ms McBride's throat. Ms McBride is said to have been left with a small red mark on her neck, but did not need medical treatment. The incident was seen by staff and members of the public, who intervened and asked Mulligan to stop. Police attended and spoke to people who witnessed the attack. Later that evening, officers traced Mulligan at her home address, where she was cautioned and charged, to which she made no reply. Mulligan's lawyer told the court that the incident had been described by his client as a chance meeting. The defence solicitor commented, "The accused and the complainer were previously known to each other. They were friends for years. The relationship became fractious. Prior to this incident, they were in regular contact." This incident, without attempting to minimise it, Ms Mulligan advised it was simply a chance meeting in the store. Comments were made. She does accept responsibility. There is CCTV evidence of this, and it is described as a matter of seconds. It is lucky if it even was that. She grabs out at the complainer. She accepts she shouldn't have done that. Her remorse is genuine. She has never resorted to violence, and this is very much a blight on her personally. She is embarrassed by her appearance in court. Sheriff Simone Sweeney fined Mulligan £190. That report was an exclusive written by Eva White. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 14th of August 2026, from the lifestyle section. Exclusive. Glasgow's South Asian sweet store Ambala celebrates 1 year. An exclusive written by Nicole Mitchell. Ambala opened on Victoria Road in July last year, bringing its handcrafted, mythi and savoury snacks to Scotland for the first time. Assistant manager Minahil Zulfikar says the store had a really warm welcome with support from both customers and neighbouring businesses. She told the Glasgow Times, "It's been fantastic. People really liked it before because their first store opened in 1965, but new customers have been coming as well, and they really like our space. People have really loved it, and they've come again and again. It's been a great welcome for us." Founded in 1965, Ambala is the oldest brand in the UK specialising in South Asian sweets and has been loved by generations of families. As well as individual items, they sell custom gift boxes and hampers, which has been staple for holidays such as Eid and other celebrations. Minahill says they decided to open their first Scottish store in Govan Hill because the South Asian community had been calling for the brand to open so they would no longer need to travel to England. All their items are halal and vegetarian. She said, the Asian community was asking Ambala to come to Glasgow because before that they were travelling to places like Manchester to buy their sweets. Ambala has authentic flavours, and if anybody knows authentic South Asian sweets, it's Ambala. We have the exact taste. She continued. People were already familiar because they brought it with their grandparents and parents, so they wanted their children to know the flavours as well. We haven't changed our recipes. However, Ambala has not just been popular amongst the South Asian community, with people from all backgrounds coming to try their must-try items such as barfi, a milk-based sweet with a fudge-like consistency, gulab jamun, a sweet consisting of soft, deep-fried dough balls soaked in sugar syrup, and laju motichur, a sweet made from tiny fried chickpea flour pearls soaked in sugar syrup and shaped into balls. Minahill added, they're really popular. They're a speciality. For any family function or anything like that, people will come to buy these. We hope everyone comes and tries them. A second store has since opened in Glasgow on Great Western Road. Ambala is located at 479 Victoria Road and 130 Great Western Road. That article was an exclusive, written by Nicole Mitchell and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 14th of August 2026, from a news section. Scottish influencer Dolly Holly has car stolen from G71, a report written by Morgan Carmichael. A Scottish influencer says she feels sick after her car was stolen. Dolly Holly made a plea to her 190,000 TikTok followers for information about her Mercedes GLC Coupe, which was nicked from her G71 postcode, North Lanarkshire. The incident seemingly took place earlier this week. Taking to the social media platform, the influencer asked anyone with information to come forward and even asked the person who stole her car to bring it back. She said she still has both sets of car keys and claimed that a professional was involved in the theft. She said, "So, my car got stolen last night. If you have any information, please let me know, and if you stole my car, can you just give me it back? I need my car." It just makes me feel so sick, the thought of it. I still have both of my car keys, so it's obviously been a professional that has stolen it. Many in the comments said they also lived in the G71 area. Other vehicles have been stolen in recent weeks. One person said, "I live in the same postcode and my vehicle was stolen about 4 weeks ago. It's been awful." Another said, "2 cars were stolen from our estate last night, also G71. A third added, "I'm G71 and there was another car stole last night. Other cars were tried." Police Scotland have been contacted for more information. That article was written by Morgan Carmichael and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 14th of August, news. Second man due in court after Sauchiehall Street stabbing, a report by Morgan Carmichael. A man is due to appear in court today in connection with alleged attempted murder. The 20-year-old is the second man to be arrested and charged in connection with an alleged disturbance, which took place on Sauchiehall Street on August the 2nd, 2026. He has also been arrested and charged in connection with serious assault and possession of an offensive weapon. We previously reported that the city centre incident took place around 1:35 a.m, and 3 men as well as 1 woman were taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital for treatment. Another 20-year-old man was charged in connection with attempted murder, serious assault and assault following the incident. He appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court on August 12. The street was later taped off for hours, with forensics seen searching the street. The Glasgow Times understands that this was a stabbing. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "Officers have arrested and charged a second man, aged 20, in connection with attempted murder, serious assault, assault and possession of an offensive weapon following a disturbance in Glasgow city centre on Sunday, August the 2nd, 2026. Around 1:35am, officers were called to Sauchiehall Street. 3 men and 1 woman were taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital for treatment. The 20-year-old man is due to appear at Glasgow Sheriff Court on Friday, August 14th, 2026. A report will be submitted to the Procurator Fiscal. That article was written by Morgan Carmichael and read by Ian McKenna.
Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of August. A Strictly contestant reaches a settlement with the BBC over allegations of bullying. An article issued by the Glasgow Times news desk. The actress Amanda Abbington has reached a substantial settlement with the BBC over bullying allegations that she made about her time on Strictly Come Dancing. The BBC dancing programme was the subject of a review in 2024 after the 52-year-old alleged that her professional partner, Giovanni Peniche, had bullied and harassed her during the competition. The Italian dancer rejected any claim of threatening or abusive behaviour and welcomed the conclusion of the review, in which the corporation upheld some but not all of the complaints. The out-of-court settlement was a 5-figure sum and was paid by BBC Studios, meaning that the funds did not come from the licence fee, the Press Association understands. It's understood that the corporation made no findings relating to physical aggression in its 2024 review, but the complaints of verbal bullying and harassment were upheld. Ms Abbington left the celebrity dance show early, citing personal reasons before alleging inappropriate behaviour. In October 2024, the Sherlock actress said that she'd not ruled out taking legal action. Following the review, the BBC introduced a series of measures aimed at improving welfare on the show, including the introduction of a chaperone present at all times during training room rehearsals. Mr Peniche was absent from the Strictly professional lineup in 2024 and went on to join the Italian equivalent called Ballando con le Stelle, which he won with the actress and singer Bianca Guacchero. Strictly is preparing for its next series, which airs in September, with 3 new hosts, broadcaster Emma Willis, the comedian Josh Widdicombe and the former professional dancer Johannes Radebe, replacing Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman. The BBC has also confirmed that 5 new professional dancers are joining. Celebrity contestants for the series include former Love Island winner Danny Dyer Bowen, Gavin and Stacey actress Melanie Walters, former England footballer Sean Wright-Phillips, and the Australian singer Delta Goodrem. An article from the Glasgow Times, issued by the Glasgow Times news desk. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of August. Glasgow University issues a statement after the death of a former professor. An article written by Emily Moore. Bosses at the University of Glasgow say that they're shocked and saddened to hear of the death of the former professor, Jason Arday. We previously reported that Jason Arday was found dead in South London following intense scrutiny after accusations of plagiarism. The University of Glasgow said last week that it would review its past appointment of Professor Arday following the alleged plagiarism and claims made by the academic. He was employed as a Professor of Sociology of Education at the university from January 2022 to March 2023, before leaving to take up his role as Professorial Chair at the University of Cambridge. A university spokesperson said, "We are deeply shocked and saddened by the death of our former colleague, Professor Jason Arday. Our thoughts and deepest sympathies are with his friends and family at this desperately sad time." Scotland's First Minister has also called the news of Professor Arday's death a deeply concerning and sad case, adding that those who had made hard comments after the plagiarism row must consider the impact of their words. Mr Swinney's comments come after Andy Burnham described Professor Arday's death as being a tragedy on so many levels. The professor had resigned from his post last week after allegations of plagiarism were made against him. He told a friend that he couldn't go on hours before he died after being subjected to intense scrutiny over his academic career. The Metropolitan Police said that his death is being treated as unexpected, but it's not believed to be suspicious. Mr. Swinney said that he hoped that Professor Arday's family are given the space to grieve after the loss that they've suffered. He said, "My thoughts are with Jason Arday's family and everyone close to him at this tremendously difficult time. This is a deeply concerning and very sad case, which has raised many issues. Many commentators who made many hard comments must now consider the impact of their words." The former First Minister, Humza Yousaf, said that sections of the media had continued to hound Professor Arday after his resignation, branding this shameful. Posting on X, Mr. Yousaf said, "Jason made mistakes and resigned as a result. What followed was the predictable onslaught by particular sections of the media. When he appealed for calm, they continued to hound him." Professor Arday became the University of Cambridge's youngest black professor in 2023, but he quit following a series of media reports alleging that he plagiarised his PhD thesis. A University of Cambridge professor and the director of the Autism Research Centre, Sir Simon Baron-Cohen, told the BBC that he spoke to Professor Arday on Friday morning. Sir Simon told Radio 4's Today programme he was being subjected to relentless scrutiny, including ridicule, discrediting absolutely every detail of his life, and he wasn't coping with the loss of his career, the loss of his reputation, and he felt that he couldn't go on. He used those words in voice notes, he added. Sir Simon said that Professor Arday was a kind and gentle man who had been bombarded by every media outlet and used as a lightning rod to examine diversity, equity and inclusion policies. An article from the Glasgow Times, written by Emily Moore. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of August. Big pay and grading shake-up for Glasgow Council workers. An article written by Stuart Patterson. A new pay and grading structure to bring closure to the equal pay issue that has plagued Glasgow City Council is being put forward this week. The plan is expected to cost another huge sum of more than £100 million, on top of what's already been paid out. It'll see more than 1 in 10 workers, 11%, having their wages reduced, and 65% getting an increase, with 24% seeing little or no change. Talks have been ongoing with the trade unions over the deal and how it will be implemented, as councillors are asked to approve it this week. Susan Aitken, the council leader who put settling the equal pay dispute at the forefront of her leadership when the SNP took over the council in 2017, said that the deal will protect the council from any litigation in the future. The plan includes a whole new pay and grading system for the council, changing the number of salary bands from 11 to 12. Staff will transition in tranches between now and April of next year. If workers are due more wages, it'll be backdated until October of 2023. If they're to have their salary reduced, then the council has proposed pay protection for 6 months. The bill for backdated payments is expected to be significant, and the council expects to borrow at least £100 million to cover it. With almost 2/3 of staff getting a rise, it'll mean that the council's wage bill will rise by around £65 million in the first year, and it has to be met from the council's budget. Ms Aitken said that it was the culmination of an 8-year process addressing gender-based pay inequality. She said it's the end of a number of years of intense work with trade union colleagues. It's been longer and more complex than any of us expected. It threw up challenges and anomalies. She admitted that not everyone will be pleased. For some, it's not going to be good news. They'll receive 6 months of pay protection, and we've endeavoured to keep numbers of losers as low as possible. She admitted, however, that this will be no consolation to those moved to a lower pay grade, adding, it will be a shock to their household income. The equal pay issue has already cost the council around £770 million, covered by a property sale and a leaseback deal to borrow the money. Ms Aitken added, I'm very conscious that while this process is the end of a decades-long fight for equality by many of our staff, a smaller number are going to find it difficult. Where workers are facing a reduction in their earnings, that's going to have a very real and very personal impact, and that's something we all need to be mindful of. I've written to the Chief Executive to ask that we explore every possible mitigation without compromising the integrity of the scheme. She said that addressing the equal pay issue over the course of her leadership was necessary. Ms Aitken, who steps down as the Council's leader next month, added, "When I became leader in 2017, Glasgow was trying to outrun an equal pay problem that was not only always going to catch up with it, but it was getting bigger and bigger every day. None of this has been easy, but I think it's now generally accepted that the consequences of not stepping forward to negotiate in good faith would have been catastrophic." An article from the Glasgow Times, written by Stuart Patterson. Glasgow Times, on Monday the 17th of August. Lifestyle. Thousands descend on Glasgow for the World Pipe Band Championships. An article written by Emily Moore. Thousands of the globe's best pipers and drummers descended on Glasgow Green at the weekend for the World Pipe Band Championships. Simon Fraser University were crowned world champions following a spectacular finale to the championships on Saturday. It's the first time in 17 years that the Canadian band has won the coveted title of World Pipe Band Champions, having last lifted the title in 2009. The momentous win also marks the first time since 2010 that a band from outside the United Kingdom has won the World Championship. Simon Fraser University delivered a top-class performance win, with Field Marshal Montgomery runners-up ahead of People's Ford Boghall and Bathgate Caledonia, who finished in third place. The Worlds, renowned as the pinnacle of the global piping calendar, bring together the best pipers and drummers on the planet to compete in one of the world's most prestigious music competitions. 211 bands from 14 nations around the world competed at this year's championships. Thousands of talented performers travelled to Glasgow Green, entertaining 35,000 spectators and supporters across 2 memorable days filled with music, tradition and spectacle. Scottish bands led the way, with 125 representing communities from across the country and delivering standout performances that wowed crowds on Friday and Saturday. Many musicians travelled thousands of miles to be part of an extraordinary 2 days, representing bands from Australia, New Zealand, Oman, Canada and France. Bands from Malaysia, Sweden, Switzerland and Germany also competed. An article from the Glasgow Times, written by Emily Moore. Glasgow Times News, on Monday the 17th of August. Nursing staff are forced to take industrial action. An article written by Emily Moore. Nursing staff in Glasgow are set to take industrial action after being left with no other option amid a dispute over job grading. Health visitor team leaders, represented by 3 trade unions, have given their formal notice of their intention to take action short of a strike through a work to rule. This means that workers will only perform their jobs as per their original 2009 job description. Bosses at the Royal College of Nursing Scotland, Unison and Unite say that their members have been left with no option but to take the action as NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde has failed to follow nationally agreed job evaluation processes. Meanwhile, the Health Board has called the decision to take industrial action disappointing and has affirmed its position that it values the health visitor team leaders and it supports the modernisation of their roles. Philip Coghill, RCN Scotland's Head of Pay, Terms and Conditions, said, "Our members absolutely do not want to take industrial action. They're fully committed to giving safe and effective care to the children and families in their care. But they feel undervalued, demoralised, and that the actions of the employer have left them with no choice. It's extremely frustrating to be back in a very similar situation to last year's dispute with district nurses. The Health Board shows no signs of learning from experience that they can't run roughshod over nationally agreed employment processes followed in other health boards across Scotland. We're seeing a pattern of behaviour that's undermining the Health Board's workforce. The net result of the Health Board's actions are that the health visitor team leaders are working to job descriptions agreed in 2009 that are out of date. But the needs of patients and health visiting practice have changed significantly in the intervening 17 years. That's letting down parents, children and staff alike. It still remains the case that the Health Board could avert this action by seeing sense and removing the blockages to job evaluation for this essential group of staff. The joint unions claim that throughout the dispute, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde has refused to follow the agreed job evaluation process, despite an updated job description being signed off by local managers and submitted for evaluation. Further claims say that the Health Board's HR department put a series of additional layers of sign-off in place at odds with a nationally agreed process, and they also requested various changes to the job description, even though it had already been agreed by local managers. The staff are still waiting for a job evaluation panel to consider their application. Francis Carmichael, the branch secretary at Unison NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, said, "We're disappointed that Unison members are yet again forced to resort to industrial action to secure a proper job description, job evaluation and appropriate back pay. We're frustrated that talks have made so little progress over many months. We could have avoidable disruption on the wards and in health visiting in the coming weeks because the Health Board can't or won't follow the rules that give people the right pay rate for the job that they do. We once again asked the Scottish Government to intervene strongly, telling the Health Board that they must respect frontline health staff and settle these disputes." James O'Connell, the regional officer from Unite, said, "Our members are extremely disappointed that they have been forced to take this course of action. It's the last thing that they want to do. Our members have shown patience and willingness to resolve this dispute. However, the direct actions of NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde senior management have left them with no other options. The continued blatant disregard of agreed processes by the Health Board will only lead to further action. We urge the board to rectify their behaviour and resolve this dispute without delay." A spokesperson for NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde said, "We greatly value the work of our health visitor team leads and we fully support the modernisation of roles. It's disappointing that we have not yet been able to reach an agreement on the job description. However, we would welcome a further meeting with our trade union colleagues to find a way forward for our staff and for our services." An article from the Glasgow Times, written by Emily Moore. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of August. A decision on proposed oil and gas fields is life and death. An article issued by the Press Association. Andy Burnham's decision on whether to approve the controversial Jackdaw and Rosebank oil and gas fields could be the difference between life and death for the North Sea industry, the Scottish Conservatives have said. A public consultation on Rosebank, the largest untapped oil field in the North Sea, 80 miles northwest of Shetland, closes on Monday. A similar exercise for the planned Jackdaw gas field, about 150 miles east of Aberdeen, finished on the 10th of August. Production at both fields had been approved by the previous Conservative government, but those decisions were quashed after a legal challenge by Greenpeace, leaving Labour ministers to decide whether drilling should go ahead. The Conservative Energy Minister and the Shadow Scottish Secretary Andrew Bowie said, "Labour's decision on both Jackdaw and Rosebank could be the difference between life and death for an industry that has supported the UK for generations. The absurd North Sea energy policy of both the Westminster and the Holyrood governments risks bringing a premature end to our oil and gas sector as we know it. I'm absolutely positive that the result of both consultations will send a clear message to Andy Burnham to stop the small talk and to get Britain drilling again." The industry body Offshore Energies UK has said that Rosebank and Jackdaw would support a peak of more than 3,500 jobs during construction and 880 jobs during their lifespans. Mr Bowie said, "These oil and gas fields, which the Conservatives have supported from the very beginning, will help shape the lives of thousands of North Sea workers for years to come. BP's decision to end its North Sea operations must be the catalyst for Labour to get Jackdaw and Rosebank up and running as a matter of urgency. Anything other than approving these fields will threaten our energy security, cost thousands of jobs, and move our world-leading oil and gas industry one step closer to extinction. In a letter seen by the Press Association, Stop Climate Chaos Scotland, a campaign group made up of more than 70 organisations with around 1 million supporters, has said that the new Prime Minister must block the proposed new developments. It warned Mr Burnham and the Energy Secretary Miata van Buller that the consequences of climate change are already being felt through more extreme heat, drought, wildfires and growing risks to food insecurity. The letter claimed that approving new fields such as Rosebank and Jackdaw is not compatible with climate goals. Offshore Energies UK has said that it recognises the threat of climate change, but that the UK needs realism in its energy policy. David Whitehouse, which leads the body, said, "Unprecedented heatwaves are reminding us that climate change is not a future threat, but a present reality. The UK needs both urgency and realism in its energy policy. That means accelerating renewable energy and also being honest about today's energy system. The reality is that oil and gas still provide around 75% of the UK's energy, keeping our cars moving, planes flying, our homes warm and our industries running. If we don't produce this oil and gas here with lower emissions under one of the most tightly regulated regimes in the world, we do not end demand. It just means more imported oil and gas, often with a higher carbon footprint, while more jobs, taxes and industrial value are shifted overseas. The government must be honest about this." A Department for Energy Security and Net Zero spokesperson said, "The North Sea remains a vital national asset, supporting jobs, growth and the UK's energy security. We are clear that oil and gas will continue to play an important role in our energy system for decades to come, alongside transitioning to clean power to protect jobs and to tackle the climate crisis." An article from the Glasgow Times, issued by the Press Association. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of August. Peter Murrell got legal aid, but I can't afford my bill. An exclusive front-page article written by Stuart Patterson. A man who is struggling to pay a 4-figure lawyer's bill is outraged that Peter Murrell was able to claim legal aid. Andrew Nelson from Glasgow was charged with dangerous driving last year, but said that he did not qualify for financial assistance, despite having a low income. He said that he works 2 part-time jobs and has a small pension, but only has an income of around £1,500 a month, at most, with overtime. When he found out through news reports that Mr Murrell, the former SNP chief executive who pleaded guilty to embezzlement of £400,000 from SNP funds, got the support, he was astonished and outraged. The 59-year-old said that he can't believe that people in his circumstances are being hit with legal charges, while a man who was on a chief executive's salary and had property assets is able to get his expensive legal team paid for by the taxpayer. He said, "I had to supply 3 monthly pay slips. The first was for £800, the next one was for £1,200 because I did some overtime, so that I could afford to buy my daughter a present." He was found guilty and received a £550 fine, which he said he is appealing, and he says he will have to pay for that too. Mr Nelson added, "When I read about Mr Murrell getting legal aid, I felt gutted. How can he get it when I can't, and I'm on around £1,500 at best in a good month? I've never been unemployed. I've never signed up for employment benefit. I wouldn't even know how to do it." Mr Murrell, the estranged husband of the former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, had an application for solemn legal aid approved by the Scottish Legal Aid Board. When Mr Murrell was granted legal aid, the Scottish Legal Aid Board said, "When assessing an applicant's eligibility for legal aid, we look at their financial position at the time of their application. This includes information they give us about their salary, the amount of money they have in the bank, and any investments which might be available to fund their own defence privately." Peter Murrell's application met the test that we have to apply when deciding whether to grant legal aid. The Glasgow Times reported this month that the bill for the disgraced former chief executive so far reached £4,831, but it's been confirmed that it's expected to rise significantly. Despite Mr Murrell pledging to repay the £400,000 to the SNP, it's not possible for the Legal Aid Board to recover the legal fees even after his assets, which include 2 pension pots worth more than £600,000, are unfrozen. The Scottish Legal Aid Board said that criminal legal aid is assessed on a person's income and their savings or assets to decide whether they can meet the cost of their own defence. A spokesperson said, "For income, the board looks at take-home income from all sources, then deducts essential costs such as housing, council tax, maintenance, loan repayments and allowances for dependents. If the amount left is less than £222 a week, the person meets the income test." The board also considers savings and other assets which could be used by the person to pay privately for representation. If these are worth less than £1,716, the person meets the capital test. Legal aid is not normally granted if either limit is exceeded, although the board can take account of cases expected to be especially complex or expensive. If legal aid is not granted, the person can ask the board to review the decision, or they can apply again if their circumstances change. Decisions about representation and court procedure are matters for the individual, their solicitor and the court. The board's role is simply to apply the legal aid rules. An exclusive front-page article written by Stuart Patterson. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 17th of August. Work is to begin on the Cardonald Library 3 years after a temporary closure. An article written by Drew Sandilands. Construction of a new roof at the closed Cardonald Library is finally set to start later this year after high-risk panels were discovered. The library was closed in September of 2023 when reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, or RAC, was identified throughout the roof of the Moss Park Drive building. Glasgow Life, the council's culture and leisure arm, initially said that work would begin in the autumn of last year, but it's been held back as further surveys were needed. A spokesperson for Glasgow Life said that 91% of panels assessed were found to be critical or high risk. Plans for re-roofing works to the library, including the removal of RAC roof panels, have now been submitted to Glasgow City Council. The project would also include the demolition of a rooftop water tank housing. A new higher-level insulated metal roof system is expected to be installed. Glasgow Life also intends to provide a changing places facility, which are larger accessible toilets. The spokesperson said, Cardonald Library closed in September of 2023 after RAC was identified throughout the roof, with 91% of panels assessed as critical or high risk. Replacing the entire roof remains the only viable long-term solution. Although work was expected to begin in autumn of 2025, further structural investigations, design development and technical surveys were needed because of the roof's condition and the complexity of the building systems. The project has also been expanded to include improved roof access and a new changing places facility. A planning application has now been submitted, with construction expected to begin later in 2026. A construction programme and expected timeline will be confirmed after a contractor is appointed. Campaigners have been calling on Glasgow Life to reopen the library, with protests previously held outside the venue. Funding of £1.9 million has been provided to the project from Glasgow City Council's Community Asset Fund. RAC, which is a cheaper alternative to standard concrete, is a lightweight material which was used mostly in flat roofing, but also in floors and walls between the 1950s and the 1990s. An article from the Glasgow Times, written by Drew Sandilands.
From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 18th of August 2026, from the Lifestyle section. Giant tea cake to go under the hammer at Glasgow auction, and this article was written by Beth Oliver. A giant tea cake, unicorn heads and gold medal netballs are among the items set to go under the hammer in a new public auction. These items, alongside boxing gloves signed by medal-winning athletes and signed netballs, will feature in the official Glasgow 2026 memorabilia auction, celebrating this summer's Commonwealth Games and giving fans a chance to own a piece of sporting history. Among the highlights are the giant tea cake prop and unicorn heads from the opening ceremony. Faye Shaw, Chief Financial Officer for Glasgow 2026, said, "Glasgow 2026 created unforgettable sporting moments and celebrated Scotland's culture, creativity and welcoming spirit on the world stage. This auction gives fans a unique opportunity to own a tangible piece of those memories, from items used by medal-winning athletes to iconic ceremony props that captured the imagination of millions. These pieces tell the story of the Games and will help ensure the magic of Glasgow 2026 lives on for years to come." The auction is delivered by the retailer group in partnership with Great Western Auctions and will be hosted by Anita Manning, the Glasgow auctioneer known for her appearances on BBC's Bargain Hunt, Flog It and Antiques Road Trip. It features a wide range of memorabilia, including ceremony props that showcased Scottish culture and sporting equipment used during competition. Among the lots are batons from the men's and women's 4x100 metre and 4x400 metre relay finals, boxing gloves signed by medal-winning athletes, signed netballs from the gold medal match, judo back numbers signed by all gold medalists, and the jacks used in the bowls gold medal final. Each item comes with a certificate of authenticity and a tamper-evident hologram, confirming its direct connection to the Games. Other standout pieces include the Barrowland Stars, Nessie, and other props that contributed to the storytelling and spectacle of the ceremonies. Nessie appeared in a scene alongside Games ambassador and global megastar Sam Heughan. Gordon McPherson, owner and managing director of the retailer group, said, "Having delivered the official memorabilia programme for Birmingham 2022, it is a real privilege to do the same for Glasgow 2026 and to connect fans with the Games once again. These are really special items and every one of them keeps an incredible summer of sport alive for the people who were there." Bidding is open online on Thursday, August the 20th, when the live auction will take place at Great Western Auctions. Fans can view the full catalogue and place bids through the official Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games auction site. For those interested in viewing the catalogue or placing a bid, more information is available at Great Western Auctions or the Sale Room Auctions. And that article was written by Beth Oliver. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 18th of August 2026, from the Lifestyle section. Glasgow Art Cafe to close permanently just 3 months after opening, and this article was written by Gillian McPherson. A city centre food spot has announced its shop closure just 3 months after it first opened. The Glasgow Art Cafe shared the sad news this morning that it will be closing in a few days. The Bath Street Eatery on the basement level of the Glasgow Art Club only opened on May the 6th. Despite its short time in business, it quickly gained a loyal following thanks to its delicious homemade focaccia sandwiches and the creative space it offered those wanting to relax and sketch. In a social media post, the cafe said, "We are devastated to announce that the decision has been made to permanently close the art cafe. We are beyond proud of the cafe's transformation into a social creative space and are extremely grateful for the consistent support and interest we have received. Whether you've popped in to see what's down in the basement or decorated our now extensive art wall with your beautiful artwork, thank you. We are still open all this week, with our last day being Saturday the 22nd, so make sure you come in to get your caffeine fix, your sketchbooks out, and to say goodbye." And that article was written by Gillian McPherson. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 18th of August 2026, from the lifestyle section. Trail runner raised nearly £800 for Breast Cancer UK, and this article was written by Beth Oliver. A fundraiser who took on a gruelling 26.5-mile trail run has raised nearly £800 for Breast Cancer UK. Callum Frew from Milton of Campsie completed the challenge from Inversnaid to Bridge of Orchy along the West Highland Way. The 26.5-mile route included more than 3,000 feet of descent, roughly the height of a Munro. After completing the challenge on July the 26th, Callum has been able to take part in the vital funds raised while struggling with a few aches and pains. Callum said, "I'm definitely feeling it, but I finished the route, so I'm really happy about that. It was quite overcast when I started, but as the day progressed, it got nicer and I ended up getting sunburnt, so I can't complain." Callum finished the run in 6 hours and 46 minutes and has so far raised almost £800, surpassing his original goal of £500. He said, "I'm happy with that, and I'm mega pleased that I managed to raise so much money for Breast Cancer UK. It's almost £800 and keeps going up. My initial target was £500. Callum, who works in a coffee shop, decided to raise funds for Breast Cancer UK after hearing about just how many people have been affected by breast cancer. Callum said, "I usually do a fundraiser run every year. This year, after talking with customers and family and friends, I've come across so many situations where people have been affected in some way by breast cancer. I decided that would be the fundraising cause for this year." Callum began the day at 6:30 a.m. before travelling to the start line. The route was designed using AI to allow for 5 pit stops reachable by car, with Callum and his girlfriend Hazel pre-checking them. Callum said, "We mapped the stops along the way so that I could refill my water bag and get some food. It worked well as I ran out of water only once along one of the sections, so that was pretty good going. You can't really trust AI. It's just sort of like a guide. We had to edit a couple of stops, especially one at Benglass car park, which was my first checkpoint after Inversnaid. From there to Drummond, I only had one stop because if I was to drop down into Cranlana, it would have been an extra 23 miles. Going back down, having to stop, then back up, we cut that one out." Among Callum's supporters was his mum Hazel and her friend, along with their 2 dogs Sam and Storm, who were unable to join the run due to the distance between stops. For Callum, the support of his pit crew was crucial. He said, "I want to give a shout out to Matt, Charlie, Hazel, Gemma, my mum and everyone who helped along the way. Because if I was just doing that alone, I would not have done it at all, because some of that route was brutal. Their support was what I needed. Being able to start, refuel, take a few minutes rest, and then start going again was invaluable. Everyone was so very, very encouraging, especially when it was starting to get brutal." Although the elevation was less than 4,600 feet he expected, the route still included more than 3,000 feet of climbing, the height of a Munro. Callum said, "I was expecting more, so I suppose that's a good thing, and there was still some hefty climbing." The section from Inversnaid to the first checkpoint, which was just past the Falls of Falach, wasn't necessarily steep, but it was mega technical with roots and rocks, and I was constantly going up and down. Trail running is Callum's preferred style of endurance challenge. He said, "I enjoy that sort of stuff because I want to challenge myself and push my boundaries a bit. I'd rather run up a Munro or up hills in the middle of nowhere, as it's softer going, even though it's more uphill and technically the terrain is more difficult. I'm used to jumping about in nature and when I go to the gym and do some boxing." I did a 5-miler up the Campsie Fells, which is where I live. I like just anything outside in trees, rivers and forests, and it's always good to raise funds for great causes at the same time. Donations to Callum's fundraiser are still being accepted via tinyurl.com/forward/TINY3SRFA9W6. And that article was written by Beth Oliver. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 18th of August 2026, from the news section. Clarkston man asked girl 14 for indecent pictures. This article was written by Emily Howie. An East Renfrewshire creep has been found guilty of sending extremely sexual messages to who he thought was a 14-year-old girl. Thomas Campbell was found guilty by a jury of sending indecent and sexually explicit messages to a 14-year-old Libby Taylor, who was in fact an adult decoy between June the 17th, 2024 and June the 25th, 2024. Campbell of Monteith Drive in Clarkston sent vile messages on Facebook Messenger to Libby, asking her if she liked expletive D***K and asked her to send indecent images of herself. The 35-year-old also caused Libby to look at a sexual image by sending her an image of a penis and asking her if she liked it. The jury at Paisley Sheriff Court took less than 2 hours to find the paedophile guilty by majority of the 2 sexual offences he faced. Defence agent Mr. Tierney asked for Campbell's bail to be continued and for reports to be prepared. Sheriff Bruce Eric, KC, continued Campbell's bail after it was revealed he had previously spent roughly 16 months on remand for this matter. Sentence was adjourned for the preparation of a Justice Social Work report. Campbell's conviction was referred to the Scottish ministers and he was placed on the sex offenders register. He will return to court for sentencing in October. And that article was written by Emily Howie. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 18th of August 2026, from the news section. Man 31 seriously hurt in attempted murder in Wishaw, and this article was written by Aidan Maxwell. A 31-year-old man has been seriously injured in an attempted murder after being attacked by men with weapons in Wishaw. The incident happened on Wingate Street at around 1:30 p.m. on Monday, August the 17th, 2026. Police were called after reports that a man had been found seriously injured following the attack. The suspects, all wearing black balaclavas, made off from the scene in a grey SUV. Emergency services attended and the 31-year-old was taken to hospital for treatment. Detective Inspector Vicky Douglas said, "We believe this was a targeted attack on the victim and extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances and identify those involved. We are appealing for anyone who was in the area at the time and witnessed what happened or noticed a vehicle driving off at speed to come forward. We would be particularly keen to hear from members of the public with private CCTV or dashcam footage which could be of significance. Anyone with information is asked to contact us on 101 quoting incident 1495 of Monday 17th of August or speak to Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. And that article was written by Aidan Maxwell. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 18th of August 2026, from the news section. Thousands of jobs coming to Lanarkshire after AI investment, and this article was written by Kevin Maguire. More than 3,400 jobs are expected to be supported in Lanarkshire through a major investment in artificial intelligence. The new roles in technology, engineering, construction and AI are part of a £300 million investment package for the region's AI growth zone, which will also deliver training and upskilling opportunities for the local workforce. The announcement includes plans for the expansion of Data Vita's existing DV1 data centre and the construction of a second facility backed by a £202 million guarantee from the National Wealth Fund. Kanishka Narayan, UK AI Minister, said, "AI is already helping scientists discover new medicines, supporting better public services and helping businesses get more done. The countries that build the infrastructure behind this technology will be the ones that attract investment, create jobs and help shape the industries of the future. That's why today's announcements matter. They will help ensure Scotland is at the forefront of one of the biggest economic opportunities of our time, bringing investment, reindustrialisation and opportunities to communities like Lanarkshire. The investment is designed to position Scotland as a leader in AI infrastructure and innovation, drawing in global companies such as Dell Technologies, which will establish a base at Mercury House in Lanarkshire's AI Innovation Park." Jonathan Reynolds, UK Business Secretary, said, "This investment and Dell's decision to back brilliant talent in Lanarkshire is proof that our AI growth zones are already playing their part in reindustrialising Britain and delivering good growth in every postcode." Stephen Flynn, Economy Secretary for the Scottish Government, said, "This investment marks a milestone in the creation of Scotland's first AI growth zone in North Lanarkshire. I welcome the economic growth it is set to deliver across the region, including more than 3,400 new jobs and private investment totalling more than £8 billion. The AI Growth Zone is supported by a £300 million financing package from ING, ABN, AMRO, Santander, the Scottish National Investment Bank and Siemens Financial Services. Work is already underway on site, with the first facility expected to be completed this year, while a £543 million community fund is in the works, which will support training after-school coding clubs, and help for local charities and food banks, ensuring a flow of future staff. And that article was written by Kevin Maguire. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 18th of August 2026, from the news section. Tributes paid after death of La Vita restaurant co-founder, and this article was written by Kevin Maguire. Tributes have come flooding in for a woman who helped build one of Glasgow's biggest restaurant chains after her death last week. Annunziata Arcari, better known as Nettie, co-founded the chip shops which later evolved into the La Vita chain of restaurants. Now the group boasts a staggering 6 locations in the city, having remained in the family with Nettie's grandson Mario at the helm as director. In a Facebook post, La Vita wrote, "As many of you will know, La Vita is a multi-generational family business with its roots in the chip shops originally operated by Mario Sr. and Annunziata Nettie Arcari before the family later branched into restaurants. Sadly, Annunziata Nettie Arcari, Marco's mother and Mario's grandmother, passed away last week. We know that many of our guests were very fond of Nettie and have asked about her and her well-being over the years. The celebration of her life will take place at St Bride's Church in Bothwell on Wednesday, the 26th of August at 11 a.m. The family would warmly welcome anyone who knew Nettie and would like to attend to join them in celebrating her life." Despite the titanic success of La Vita as it's grown from fish and chips to decadent dining, memories of Nettie reach far past that to even the most humble of beginnings. One commentator said, "Sorry to hear that sad news. Nettie was a great character in the Croftfoot roundabout shop when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. A great success story of a family who worked hard every hour of the day. Very fond memories of Nettie. My thoughts are with the family." And that article was written by Kevin Maguire.
From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 19th of August 2026, from the news section. 10,000 illicit cigarettes seized in Glasgow West End crackdown, by Aidan Maxwell. Thousands of illicit cigarettes and counterfeit goods have been seized during a police operation in Glasgow's West End. Officers from Partick Community Policing Team joined trading standards in carrying out inspections at 4 shops in the area yesterday. The operation targeted the sale of illicit tobacco products. Police seized 10,040 illegal cigarettes and 1.75 kilograms of hand-rolling tobacco during the visits. A total of 134 items of counterfeit clothing and footwear were also recovered. Police Scotland Greater Glasgow shared details of the operation on social media and praised the assistance of a specialist detection dog. They wrote, "Yesterday, officers from Partick Community Policing Team and Trading Standards carried out a joint operation in the West End in relation to the sale of illicit tobacco. With the help of a very good girl, officers inspected 4 shops and seized 10,040 illicit cigarettes and 1.75 kilograms of hand-rolling tobacco, along with 134 items of counterfeit clothing and footwear." That article was written by Aidan Maxwell and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 19th of August, news. Chancellor Street murder probe after 2 men found dead in a flat. A report by Aidan Maxwell. A murder investigation has been launched after 2 men were found dead with serious injuries inside a flat in Glasgow's West End. Police have named the men as Paul Lafferty, 50, and Gary Beaton, 54. Emergency services were called to the property on Chancellor Street in Partick at around 4:40 p.m. on Sunday, August 16th. Paul and Gary were pronounced dead at the scene. Following a post-mortem examinations, On Monday, August 17th and Tuesday, August 18th, Police Scotland confirmed their deaths have been treated as murder. Both families are aware and are being supported by specialist officers. Detectives from Police Scotland's major investigation team, supported by local officers, are carrying out extensive inquiries and have appealed for the public's help. Others have trawled hours of public and private CCTV footage, while door-to-door inquiries are continuing. As the Glasgow Times previously reported, a large police cordon remained in place on Monday afternoon, covering parts of Chancellor Street and nearby Ely Street and Downhill Street. Officers were stationed at each end of the cordon, while others stood guard outside a property on Chancellor Street, and detectives carried out inquiries in the area. Police also approached nearby businesses as part of the investigation. An employee at Thunderdog on Byers Road, near the junction with Chancellor Street, said officers had requested CCTV footage. A worker at nearby Sears Pizza said the cordon was put in place at around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. on Sunday. The employee said a Chancellor Street resident had told staff she was unable to return to her home with her 2 children because of the police operation. One resident told the Glasgow Times, "Cops have been here since yesterday afternoon. Around 3 p.m. I heard a lot of sirens and a cordon was put in place along Ely Street and White Street. I knew something serious had happened." Another resident said police had been on the street all night. A major incident public portal has now been established, allowing information to be submitted directly to the investigation team. Senior Investigating Officer Detective Superintendent Cheryl Kelly of the Major Investigations team said, "My thoughts are with the families of Paul and Gary at this extremely difficult time, and we are doing all we can to get them answers. Our investigation into the deaths of Paul and Gary are continuing, and I would urgently appeal to anyone with information who has not already spoken with us to please do so. It is vital we trace whoever is responsible, and we are fully committed to doing this. A significant amount of resources have been dedicated to this investigation, and there will be a large police presence in the area as these inquiries continue. I am appealing directly to anyone with any information, no matter how small or insignificant they feel it may be, should come forward and speak to us. Please do not assume that the police already know the information you have. We are keen to hear from anyone who knew Paul and Gary or who were in the Partick area near to Chancellor Street from Friday morning from 9 a.m. on August the 14th, 2026, who seen Paul or Gary or seen or heard anything suspicious." Superintendent Craig Brady said, "I would like to extend my sympathies to the family and friends of Paul and Gary as they try to come to terms with their loss. We understand the significant impact this will have on the local community, and I would like to thank everyone for their help so far. High visibility patrols remain in the area, and there will be an increased police presence as the investigation continues. If anyone has any concerns or information, please speak to officers. Information can be submitted through the Major Incident Public Portal. Anyone with information can also contact Police Scotland on 101, quoting incident number 1386 of Sunday, August 16th, 2026, or call Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. That report was written by Aidan Maxwell and read by E. McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 19th of August 2026, from the news section, Graham Dott told boy to stay out of room with girl, High Court hears, by Grant McCabe. A former world snooker champion allegedly told a young boy to stay out of a room while he was with a girl he is accused of abusing, a jury has heard. Graham Dott is on trial at the High Court in Glasgow, accused of lewd and libidinous behaviour towards a girl and a boy between 1993 and 2010. The 49-year-old denies the 2 charges. A witness who knew the girl when they were both children gave evidence on Wednesday. The man, now in his 40s, told jurors there were occasions when he, the girl, and Dott were together at a house in Glasgow. Prosecutor Lindsay DL asked if there was a time he noticed anything about Dott's behaviour towards the girl. The witness replied, "Yes, maybe I was 9 or 10 years old. I remember him telling me not to go into the room when he was with her." He claimed this happened more than once. DL asked what happened after Dot allegedly told him not to enter. The witness said, "When an adult told you not to do something, you generally did not do it." He later told the court he had a vague memory of going into the room despite the alleged warning. Asked if he could remember anything else, the witness added, "Not really. I remember being told to leave." DL then asked who had told him to leave. The man replied, "Graham. I think he was quite angry." Jurors heard the witness first gave a statement to police in 2001 before speaking to officers again in 2025. Defence advocate Ewan Dow questioned him on the contents of his earlier statement. Dow referred to the witness telling police as a teenager, "I cannot remember walking into the room." The witness had also stated, "I have not got a very good memory." The man agreed it had been a long time ago, but maintained his recollection had improved over time. Dow suggested there had been no mention at all about being told to stay out of the room by Dot in the earlier account. The court earlier heard the conclusion of evidence from the woman at the centre of one of the charges. She has alleged that Dot caressed her bottom while giving her a piggyback, also known as a coaxie, and that he separately exposed himself to her. Jurors heard she later disclosed the allegations to a friend and others. Dow questioned the woman, now in her 40s, about a conversation she allegedly had regarding the claims. The advocate asked, "Did you say that you could take it to the newspapers and make a lot of money?" The woman replied, "No." Dow then asked, "Are you sure about that?" She answered, "Yes." The trial went on to hear from a woman who the girl spoke to about the allegations when she was a teenager. This woman later had a conversation with a relative of Dot's regarding the claims. Recalling what the family member said, the witness told jurors, "She said there was no truth in what the girl said and it was a pack of lies. She was very hostile towards me. She accused me of being naive and being taken in by her pack of lies." Dot won the World Snooker Championship in 2006 and was runner-up in 2004 and 2010. The trial, before Lord Harrower, continues. An article written by Grant McCabe. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 19th of August. News. Airo Sushi to open restaurant on Glasgow's Sauchiehall Street. By Nicole Mitchell. A fast-growing sushi restaurant is set to open its first Scottish location in Glasgow. IRO Sushi will open at 249 to 257 Sauchiehall Street this summer, serving unique, protein-rich and restaurant-quality meals at affordable prices. IRO prepares its sushi fresh and made to order using premium, sustainable seafood from Norway, alongside sauces and toppings sourced from leading Japanese brands and food producers. It aims to make the quality and authenticity traditionally associated with restaurant sushi accessible for everyday lunch, dinner and for quick meals on the go. The eatery serves more than 90 dishes, including Japanese-inspired hot food such as katsu curries, teriyaki dishes, noodles and gizoya. The new Sauchiehall Street restaurant will be inspired by Japanese izakayas and will feature ambient lighting and contemporary finishes, alongside digital touchscreen kiosks to streamline ordering and reduce waiting times during peak periods. Over the last 3 years, IRO Sushi, which was founded in 2014, has opened more than 20 new locations across the UK, with much of the brand's success shaped by founder Chong Sherpa's own experience as a trade sushi chef. IRO Sushi will be taking over the spot previously occupied by Oodles, with Glasgow's strong and diverse food culture providing a compelling market. Chong, founder and CEO, said, "IRO Sushi has always been built around the food. I came into the business as a sushi chef and wanted to create something that could give more people access to restaurant quality sushi and Japanese food at prices that are affordable for everyday occasions. It's a proposition that has allowed us to grow rapidly across England, and we believe there is a significant opportunity to build the brand in Scotland. Glasgow is the beginning of that journey. Scotland has a strong food culture, and we believe IRO Sushi can bring something distinctive to the market. Over time, we see the potential for up to 20 locations across the country, and we want to build that footprint with ambitious franchise partners who believe in the brand and what it can become. As written by Nicole Mitchell and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 19th of August 2026, from the news section. Man targeted elderly Glasgow woman with dementia in 8-month scam, by court reporter Conor Gordon. A conman stole money from an elderly woman with dementia amid an 8-month bogus window cleaning scam. Joseph Duddy, 64, initially targeted Rosemary Love, 77, at her flat in Glasgow's Downhill between September and November 2025. Glasgow Sheriff Court heard how Duddy followed Miss Love to the bank and waited outside for her. Miss Love asked for money to pay a workman but was denied, as Duddy did not give her an invoice at the time. On another day, Duddy spoke to Miss Love's friend who had come to visit her and stated he would be doing her windows. Duddy then spoke to her neighbours and offered to do theirs for a cheaper price. Later that day, Miss Love was heard by a witness telling Duddy that she had already gave the money. The witness confronted Duddy, who appeared drunk at the time. The witness said, "Why are you here? Do one, don't come back." To which Duddy replied, "F*** off," before he left. Miss Love was stated to be visibly shaken and upset at the time. On October 24th, neighbours heard Duddy knocking on Miss Love's door again. They told Duddy to leave as he was escorted from the building the previous night. Miss Love's hands were trembling and she appeared frightened and stressed out. Duddy was confronted again on November the 7th, amid claims he was setting up a direct debit. He was told that he should not be there, and eventually he left. The court heard of other later incidents in which Duddy pretended to be, or made out he was, his victim's window cleaner or workman. This included taking the handbag and purse of a woman who used the aid of a scooter. Duddy took a total of £1,185 from his other victims, the last of which was targeted in May 2026. Duddy pleaded guilty to a total of 15 charges, which included fraud, stalking, theft and breaching bail conditions. Sentence was deferred until next month pending background reports by Sheriff Andrew McIntyre, who continued Duddy's remand in custody meantime. That article was written by Conor Gordon and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 19th of August 2026, from the news section. Protesters gather outside Motherwell home linked to Frank Kearney. A report by Aidan Maxwell. Former Celtic Boys Club manager Frank Kearney was escorted from a Motherwell property by police on Tuesday evening after a crowd gathered outside the address. Videos shared on social media appear to show Kearney being led from the property on Logan Lee Drive by officers. Footage also appeared to show the 86-year-old shouting towards people gathered outside and raising a walking stick before being guided towards a police vehicle. A number of people had gathered outside the property on Tuesday evening, with police attending the scene. Kearney was convicted in 2019 of a series of historical sexual offences committed while he was involved with Celtic Boys Club. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison after being found guilty of offences committed against the boys between the 1960s and 1980s. In 2023, further proceedings relating to allegations involving 3 former youth players did not go to trial after a court heard Kearney was unfit to stand trial because of his health, including dementia. Tuesday's gathering is the latest incident involving locations where Kearney has reportedly been residing, with previous protests having taken place in Lanarkshire communities. Images and video from the scene circulated online showing police officers accompanying Kearney from the property as members of the public looked on. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, "Around 7:25pm on Tuesday the 18th of August 2026, we were made aware of people gathering outside a property in Motherwell. Officers attended and engaged with the group, which later dispersed. There were no arrests. That article was written by Aidan Maxwell.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.